In the middle of Jesus' famous model prayer, he petitions God to give us this day our daily bread, demonstrating quite naturally the ancient importance of this culinary staple. Bread was such an integral part of the ancient Near Eastern diet that the word could be used to mean food in general. Almost as far back as historians can see, bread has been a part of the human diet via wild and cultivated seed. Like today, there were many different ways to make a loaf. First, flour had to be processed. Different types of grains were used. In ancient Israel, at least 2 types of wheat were grown. Emmer wheat that required traditional threshing or pounding to get rid of the seed hull, and durum wheat that became more popular because it didn't require threshing. Wheat was grown from November to May, and its harvest was celebrated by the biblical Feast of Weeks. Barley was the other dominating grain of the biblical landscape. As a crop, it was more robust than wheat, tolerating harsher conditions and poorer soil. But it was also viewed as less valuable than wheat. For example, except for in a very specific circumstance, offerings to God were made of wheat flour. The heads of wheat and barley could be eaten raw or toasted, but the truly civilized way was to process them into flour. This was most often done by hand on a daily as-needed basis. Dough would then be mixed up with the flour and a liquid, any add-ins like fat, seeds, fruit, or coarser grain, and could be baked right away or leavened. The baking process itself also varied greatly. Dough could be flattened and cooked directly in the coals of a fire. It could be baked on a preheated flat rock or on a large metal circular plate heated over a fire. Ovens were also utilized, dome ovens and Tanner ovens being widely attested to. Ancient Egypt has left us the most prolific evidence of bread baking in its pictorial representations, 3D models, and even in the form of ancient loaves themselves. From these, we learn that bread was baked in many different shapes, sizes, and forms. It could be flat bread or leavened bread. It could be shaped by hand into spirals, loaves, or models of other things. It could be stamped or baked in a pottery mold. Potted and molded bread were often baked in dome-type ovens that facilitated the stacking or placing of pots within the heated structure. The walls of Tanner-style ovens were used to bake bread that had been slapped onto it. Whatever process was used, it's clear that bread baking quickly became something more than just calorie-based. It was part of a tradition of modifying the natural world, of becoming creators in our own right. It's interesting that this cross-culturally was then offered back to God, or the gods as it were, an act of love and devotion. Breaking bread was actually, and symbolically, an act of friendship. Thanks for watching. Click the playlist on screen now to watch more spotlights. And if you want to read the full article, click the link in the description. You can always go to BibleDiscoveryTV.com for more videos, articles, and resources.